Hello everyone, welcome to the continuation videos on the tutorial series of object-oriented programming in Java. So this tutorial episode will talk more detail about the access specifiers like public, private, and let's talk about public, private, and we'll come to protected later with respect to how do we actually instantiate the the class object, and also how to use them effectively. So let's create a project which is of type Java application. Java object oriented programming 1. So the project is ready. Now we are ready to go. So what we can do, we'll actually create a class object in a different package. We'll import the package into the main, create an instance, and try to access the member methods especially. So and we'll talk about the access specifiers like public and private. We'll come to protected in the subsequent tutorial series. So right click on the source package, do left click first and right click and come to new and go for Java package. But remember, Java package is just a folder in the hard disk. So what we can do is we'll provide a package name called op. So we'll create a new class called Java object 1. So we have created an class object called Java object 1 in the package called op, because it's inside the package called op, and we have nothing in this class because just created it. Let's create a new class object which is really meaningful and useful. So first comes to the mind is the default constructor. Default constructor has to be having the keyword called public, meaning wherever the and whoever creates the Java class object, that constructor has to be visible, and constructor is the actual first method that actually runs when the class object starts running in the sense the program starts executing the class object. So this is the default constructor, meaning with the access specifier called public and with the same name as the class name with opening and closing brace. This is the standard constructor. Constructor in the sense it is the keyword that is actually, constructor is actually the semantics, meaning the meaning, wherein once the very first step where the Java object 1, as far as example here is concerned, starts running in the life cycle of the program or the project, constructor is the first method that will be running. So this is very much useful to do the initialization part of the member variables, especially when you have private variables where the variables are not actually directly accessible in the class object. So let's do that. Let's create a private int. Let's create a string variable called so there is no need to so you have to put the capital letter S. So there is no need to import any special package, or meaning the libraries. For example, int, float, long, double and string is directly the data types which is present in the standard Java compilation process, even the runtime. So we don't have to import anything in general. We have to import the packages with respect to the libraries is concerned. So all the standard libraries of Java is directly available irrespective of where the .java source program is actually written and then compiled using the keyword called Java, which is done automatically by the IDE, and then that is finally run Java C, actually Java 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 C compiler, Java compiler, not the C compiler, Java compiler, and then it is run on the JVM by the executable called Java. So there are two steps. Java C will compile all the source files to .class files, and then the virtual machine JVM runs the entire project or the single source file with the executable called Java. Now, then Java space that class file, or Java jar, you can do Java space hyphen jar, and that jar file will run on the JVM, Java virtual machine. That's when the compile time and then the runtime actually gets into play. So there is no need to import for a standard data types, int, float, long, double, string, and there are other things on big decimal and big things will come for the very large numbers. So we don't have to worry about all the data types in the very first step itself. Please explore the Java programming language with respect to syntax, semantics, and its usability. So coming to object-oriented programming, this tutorial series is only on object-oriented programming in Java, especially targeted for beginners. So default constructor is the first method that actually runs when the instance of the class actually runs in the life cycle of the program. So what I can do, we created two objects. Everything is an object in Java. So every object has its own methods that you can call. So we created two int and string, two variables, member variables, member of the class object called Java object obj1, which is access specifier called private, meaning when we make the instance of the Java object, the private variables are not accessible, it's not available. So we have to provide some getter sector functions so that we actually have an indirect access to the private variables. So we have to create the methods in the sense functions inside class are known as methods as far as the meaning, the semantics is concerned. Syntax is the same. So in public, let's get int num. So you can use the keyword called this. This in the sense this is the namespace which is inside the class called Java object1. If you don't use the keyword called this, is one and the same. For example, int num belongs in the namespace called Java object1, which is a class. So it doesn't matter. Just to have more clarity when you read the program, this is very much useful for some third party reading the program, so they will know which namespace the variables actually belong to. So this is the getter function for the num. So let's create another getter function for the string object. So now we have created a class object Java object1, which has two variables, int and string, which is having the access specifier called private, meaning it's not directly visible, directly available for access when the class object called Java object1 is instantiated. So we created two methods, meaning the functions, which returns the variables accordingly with the access with the data type called int and string accordingly. So what we can do is how to use this file, the Java source file as Java object1, is to first import it. So you can directly do the IDEs will actually directly import the necessary files when you create an object. When you instantiate, as you can see, it just imported Java object1 because I'm start creating the object. So I've created. So let's see what's visible in this object. So as you can see, get int num and get stir name meaning string is available, but not the actual variables called int num and in string name str name, because the access specifiers we provided as private and the methods are provided as public. So if we accidentally put instead of public the methods as private, even those will not be accessible. So we just because we have put the access specifier called public, now the public object is visible, so we can have so if you can actually wait for the code completion, or you can do get int num. So sometimes the IDEs will take some time to provide a code completion, so we'll just write it away. So then we'll class so we created a class object. First we created a separate file called java obj1. The class name and the file name should be the same. We created inside a package called oop, meaning this entire thing of java obj1 now belongs to the package called oop. So we imported that oop package and the object java obj1, and we created instance obj1 with java obj1 as the class object, and we are trying to access the getter function called getIntNum and string name11, because we actually initialized the int num to 100 and strname to 100. So let's run the program. It looks like everything is fine unless we have some compile time errors. So now it is working fine. So we just change to so now it successfully printed the value of num and string. So this is the way to actually extend the programming to a new package and another file with the access specifier called public to the class object, because we need to access all the public methods and member variables inside the class, otherwise there is no point in public there. And because we have provided access specifier called private to int and string, we had two methods, and we are actually calling those methods wherever the object instantiation is done. So this is object instantiation. So this is the very proper new first step in the domain of object-oriented programming in Java. So we have just demonstrated that you can actually create a new package, meaning the folder in the hard disk. Inside there is a file with this class object, and two access specifiers, public and private, and method object variables, meaning the member variables and the member methods, and we access the member methods. So this is the way you actually create the object in Java with the new operator called new. New has to be there. Without new, this will give you a syntax error, meaning that this is a syntactic or even semantic error at compile time. So as you can see, now the Java compiler has thrown erroneous symbolic type. So the compiler does not know what to do with this statement. So any object that needs to be created, or on the technical side known as instantiation, the object is now object1 is now created with the new operator only. That is the standard that has to be followed in all Java object-oriented programming constructs. So I think I will end this tutorial video here. Please stay tuned for the subsequent tutorial videos coming in this series, object-oriented programming in Java. So see you there. Thanks a lot. Bye.